everybody, Laurie McLean here. My first ever video at Pemberley Cottage in Central Ohio, and I'm going to work on my famous fruitcake that I made famous last year. And it's an adaptation of Martha Stewart's recipe, except no sugar. So I'm just going to get started. So here we go. First thing I want to do is zest the oranges. And the best thing to do that with is this tool right here. It's a little zester. And you want to use the little thing like this, the edge. And it makes little lines like this. And we need the zest of 2 oranges. And it's really, really good in this cake. And, you know, everybody poo-poos fruitcake, but I'll change your mind on that because the fruitcake is really good. And I haven't made it since last year. And I want to make it a tradition to make it every year. So just keep dragging it along here. And if it's sharp enough, it'll work good. And you want to save the inside of the orange because we need all the juice, because we're going to make a really cool decoration for the top with whole fruit. And you need the juice to thin down the jelly that I'm using. Then I'm going to cook the fruit down in the jelly and the orange juice, and even the pecans. I'm going to cook those in there too because they're raw. But when you cook them, they turn out really good. So we're going to zest this. It's almost like peeling an apple. Almost. There you go. You can see how it took most of the zest off. And there's juice everywhere. So I just want to take my knife and cut it up. That way you don't get a really big piece of orange in there. You just get little pieces. Okay, and you always put a towel underneath your cutting board, because if I didn't, this new cherry butcher block countertop would slide all over. And the base of this countertop we got for free, which is, I always get stuff for free. And it was from an old school, and I took the one end off and put the top on. We ordered the top because we got our top from our kitchen in there too, and so I decided to use this in here too, for mostly for the grandkids, but for everything else. And you can put 3 stools over here, and sometimes Drew and I eat in here. So there is the zest of the oranges. We're just going to put them in the pan, in the bowl here. And another thing you need is 1 cup of currants. These are organic currants from Whole Foods in the bulk section. So I'm just going to dump them in there. That's about 1 cup. Currants. If you're not familiar with currants, it's a little bush. I've grown them one time before. They're hard to pick, and you don't get a lot out of it, but it's a real English thing, currants. It's kind of like tiny raisins. So there's that. And then organic raisins. I try to use organic as much as I can. And okay. And we need to cut up the next, we got figs, which we eat a lot of figs. And it's our favorite thing for snack is figs. And then they're organic. And then we got organic prunes. And everybody says, ooh, prunes, but it's really good in it. And then organic apricots. So what I'm going to do is I need 1 cup for the mix, but I also want to save some for the top. And you can see in this picture right here, it's real decorative on the top. So you want to save some for when you boil that juice, the jelly, which we use 100% fruit Smuckers. apricot jelly. That's what I use on it. And let's see, yeah. And so you need 1 cup in the mix of the fruitcake. So I'm going to measure it like this, and then I'll cut them up. And what's left, I'll cut in half and put on the top when we decorate the top. So I want to just cut everything up in like little dices. So I just cut along here, and I line it up kind of like when I'm doing potatoes or whatever I'm cutting, vegetables. And I'm just doing little dices. So it kind of sticks together. So you kind of... Sometimes these figs have a stem on them, but these are from Trader Joe's, and they took the stems off. But when you try to eat these, they have like a hard stem, and you have to take them off. They're not that good. Okay, almost done cutting up the figs. Now there's 2 different kinds of figs, and these are the better ones. There's some that are like black looking and they're harder. They're still good, but these are the best kind. The lighter colored ones. I just think they taste better and they're softer. Now, everybody that follows me, which is only a few people so far, but knows we've been documenting the remodeling of this farmhouse. We've lived here just a week is all we've been here, but we've owned it for 2 years, and we've been working on it for 2 years. So in between our other job, we work on it, and we've done a lot of details. And in the following videos, you know, from now on, we're going to do videos, and you'll get to see all the work that we've done on stuff. In the background is all my teacups and teacup pots that I've collected over the years. And I used to have a tea room, and it was called the Scented Geranium when Sonia, my daughter, was in college. And this is all the stuff left over from it. And I also used to have the Murphy house. And that was where I really started. When I was 30 years old, I started a private dining room. And it's just a mile up in town up here. And it was called the Murphy house. And I had that for 10 years. And it was like a private reservation-only party place. And tea was my focus. So it's not my only thing that I ever had, but I did that for 10 years, and that was what I really spent a lot of time doing. So we need 1 cup of prunes. Now I'm not going to put these on top because they're not as decorative. You know, they're little. And they're just not as decorative as the apricots and the figs on top. But my grandma lived to be 106, and she drank prune juice every day, and she said that's the key to living long. And if you look up here, you can't see it because all my flower cutting stuff is up here, but I have a little sign for a little pretend tea company that I have. It's called Blanche and Bell Tea Company. Well, it's the middle names of my grandmas, and it was Fanny Bell and Edith Blanche, and so I named it Blanche and Bell Tea Company. And I'll have a lot of stories about my grandma, who was 106, because she was a pretty cool old lady. And the whole time I was growing up, she did not change at all. Her hair color didn't change or nothing. I remember my grandma the same all the time. So, Fanny McLean, and she was quite the character. So, I'm going to cut these up the same way we cut the figs up. They're a little easier to cut up than the figs because they're not as hard. But the blend of everything in this is really, really good. Now, this is not Martha Stewart's recipe. It's an adaptation of it because we don't do a lot of sugar here. And so I figure out things to do besides the sugar. And what another ingredient instead of the sugar is I'm using date paste. And date paste is what I use for sugar most of the time, or that jelly that's 100% fruit jelly. And we go to an Amish store and we get what's called Bent and Dent groceries, and we get a lot of stuff there. You never know what you're going to get there. So I got that at the Bent and Dent. my favorite place to go. It's like a kid in a candy store, and there's like 4 stores that we go to in the same area, and there's lots of Amish, and so there's always the horses and the kids and all that around. And we're not too far, probably 20 miles from the Amish country in this area in central Ohio. It's quite a bit of Amish. When I was growing up, there wasn't that many, but there's a lot now. So this area is Cardington, Ohio, and I grew up just down the road from here, but I didn't go to Cardington High School. I went to Highland. But I've been here all my life, and this is where I grew up, and I know a lot of people. I know a lot of the roads, a lot of the people. A lot has changed because we're not too far from Columbus, Ohio. So it's all coming this way. But we still have this farm here is 4 acres. And we have another farm called Green Diamonds Farm. You'll see some videos from there too. And it's 10 acres. And that's more of our production farm is there. So just put these in the bowl. It's kind of sticky. I'm kind of funny. I don't like a lot of stuff on my hands, so you'll probably see me wash my hands. So we need a cup of the dried apricots. And don't forget, we got to save some for the top. So these were bulk at Whole Foods. I just bought these at Whole Foods. And I took notes last year. Even have my receipt. But I took notes of where I got everything. Because I tend to like the same stuff. If you like a product, I like to get it there again. And so, see, this is starting to fill up. So that's a cup. And it seems like a lot for just a cup. But it's pretty good. So this year we plan on putting a raised bed garden just out that window. You'll be able to see it. And we do investment houses, and so we save as much as we can from all our houses. And one of the houses had a big fence around it, and so we cut it in, I forget how many sections, what size sections, Drew?
Well, the fence is a 6-foot privacy fence, and we cut it into about 30-inch widths so we can stand those up on their sides. So your raised beds will be about hip high. So there's no more, you don't have to stoop over all the way to do the individual beds.
And then we're gonna put that really good black plastic down and pea gravel in between. And we've had some killer gardens before, so this is just a prelude to what we're gonna be doing. And we're just videoing what we're doing. We're not like, it's just me and Drew. We're just gonna do it and show you what we're doing and how you do it. And sometimes I stack them on top of each other to go faster. But you got to learn how to cut stuff up if you're going to cook homemade. I'm telling you, it's the knife skills. And if you have a garden and you grow things, you're going to have to cut things up. And so that's a big part of gardening is cutting things up.
Except eggs. Don't have to cut eggs up. Especially in the raw state.
Yeah. And we had chickens for the first time this year at this farm. There was a really nice chicken coop here. And it probably could hold how many chickens, Drew?
Well, comfortably, I would say 100. And possibly more, but I would say 100.
And it's really a cool coop because the roost for at night is they have the roost, like we'll say like this. And underneath is a board about like this, a whole floor. So when you want to clean it out, you just scrape it out. And there's nothing that gets on the ground. So I'm sure that's an old-fashioned design, but it's already there. Now we have to re-side it because there's some holes and the foundation needs fixed. But other than that, it's really, really, really nice. I mean, we had to clear the weeds out, and Sonia brought some chickens and said, Mom, I'm just bringing chickens. So we had, 8 chickens?
Yeah.
8 chickens, and Drew had them all named, but we didn't want to keep them over the winter, so we took them to the Amish country, further away from the Amish that we know, and had them butchered. And Sonia said it was some of the best chicken that she's ever had. I think they were about 2-year-old chickens. So now I just need some pecans, But these aren't as big as you usually get. I mean, these are from Trader Joe's. But I want to save some for the top. And I think I'm just going to save. I'm not going to pick out the whole ones because there's nothing, you know, this is not like a whole whatever. I need 8 ounces. And that's what this is. So I'll just dump these in here. I'm going to cut some up because they're just a little too big for that. But I think I'll save about that much for the tops. I'll measure this. This is probably just a cup. Close to it. I would say 3/4 of a cup.
Is our digital scale still at the other farm?
Yeah. Yeah. Real True Baking. They weigh everything. And there's some recipes that I go to a lot of libraries and I get a lot of cookbooks. And some of them are by weights and not by like a cup or 1 cup or 2 cups or whatever. It's by weight, and that's really a more accurate way to do baking.
Oh.
And it's way better. And you know, people have really good knife skills. I just kind of cut things up. I did get a book at the library one time, and it was all about knife skills, and it was a really good book. It teaches you how to cut things up. And when we do cooking classes, we're going to do it at both farms here, and we'll have classes on that because I've helped at school, like when Sonia was growing up, and there's some people that just don't know how to do stuff, and you just got to help because some kids are not coordinated and some people are, and I think adults are like that too. They're just not coordinated. So I need a bowl here. I'm going to cut the oranges in half, and love this not zester, but reamer for the oranges. I forget where I got it. You know, I collect kitchen tools when I go to the Goodwills and everything. I collect a lot of kitchen tools, and I just like a lot of them. So just cut it in half and put it in the middle and just start squeezing it. And it gives you the juice out. Now, when I go to put this in there, if there was seeds in it, I have a little strainer that I would strain it through, but these don't have any seeds. So you just run it through here. For just a half an orange, that's quite a bit.
So next spring, Laurie, what would you do with that orange rind?
You can't put it in your compost.
Probably feed it to the pigs, right?
Yeah, because a lot of your garbage and stuff from the kitchen would go to the pigs. Now, you could you could dry this if you wanted to, but I've taken most of the oils out of here, so it really wouldn't be that good for anything, for like potpourri or, you know, to cook it on your stove. You could take this and put it on the stove right now, some cinnamon and star anise, and cook it down for like to make your house smell good. But
yeah, we could use that in some of our investment houses.
Yeah.
Not always the best smelling houses when we buy them.
Drew always picks the bad houses. So if they smell good, it's like this last one we got, it's like it wasn't that bad, and it's like it's been easy. So I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop on that one, so we'll see.
Yeah, easy comparably.
Yeah. So just squeeze it a little bit. And this always reminds me of growing up. We always got like a case of fruit from the FFA, and we would eat too many of them, obviously. And we'd be sick of them. But this smell reminds me of that. Smells always remind you of stuff. But this reminds me of Christmas time and eating the FFA fruit. So it doesn't really matter about the pulp because we're cooking it down with the jelly. So we're going to cook the figs cut in half, the rest of the pecans, the jelly, and the apricots. I'm leaving them whole. So we'll just cook them down. And after it comes out of the oven, that's when you put this stuff on. It's like a glaze on top, and it makes it look really good. Because I think if you didn't put this on top, it would just be like a boring looking cake. But it's not. It looks really good. So that's quite a bit of juice. So we're going to save that. And because I don't have any molasses, so I have to get the molasses at the other house. And so I'm just going to cut these in half. And it doesn't matter. I'm using the same cutting board. It's all going to be the same. I'm going to refrigerate all this stuff. So it'll be all right. I like to not use a bunch of dishes.
There's no cross-contamination in dried fruit.
Yeah. And I've done some major dishes in my lifetime, so anytime you can cut, the chance of, you can use a dish twice, or if you can use a cutting board or whatever, I would.
Well, didn't they measure all the dishes that you did and it went to the moon and back?
Well, my sister, when we used to do private parties for 10 years. That's what we did at the Murphy house. And one night she counted how many dishes we used. And it was like per person, utensils, glasses. She said it was like 20 or 30, 25 or 30. She's like, that's too many. But, I had sewed all the tablecloths, sewed all the linens. And we had a really good business for 10 years there. And that was how I got started. I was 30 years old. Okay, so we're going to come back and finish this video when we get the rest of the ingredients and have the mixer up here, and we'll mix it all together and put it in the pans and finish cooking. See you later. This is Laurie McLean back for our final fruitcake demonstration. We're going to get started right away. Yesterday I put all the fruit together, and I also added another cup of cranberries. So it has 1 cup of apricots, 1 cup of currants, 1 cup of figs, 1 cup of raisins, 1 cup of prunes, and 1 cup of cranberries, and not quite 8 ounces of pecans because I saved some for the topping. So that's what that mixture is right there with the orange zest that I did in the last video. So that's ready to go once I make the batter. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with the batter. First of all, you want to do the butter. You need 2 sticks. And I like Whole Foods butter. It reminds me of the butter I had growing up. Because when I was growing up, we actually lived on a real farm, and we milked cows. And there were 6 of us. I'm the youngest. And I was little, but I remember my mom had to put a timer on for us to churn the butter because we would fight over it. And it was just a little paddle thing that you turn the crank, and at 5 years old I could still do it. And I actually have my grandma's, so I will use that eventually in one of our videos.
Is that butter refrigerated or room temperature, Laurie?
It's room temperature butter. For the winter time, it's not that soft, but so you're going to cut down the middle, then turn it over, and then cut down the middle again. This is when I make pie crust, I do the same thing. Then you make little cubes. So just put it in the mixer bowl. This is an old KitchenAid mixer I've had for probably 25 years.
Is that a 5-quart?
I'm not sure.
Looks like it.
And then I along the way, I have found 2 more extra bowls. One time I found one for $1. So it comes in handy to have extra bowls. And I love this mixer. Although it needs refurbished a little bit. But I love this mixer. I've used it through all my restaurants.
How long have you had it?
Probably 25 years.
Hey, speaking of your farm, how far away is your farm that you grew up from here?
Probably
maybe 10 miles.
Maybe 8 to 10. So I've been in the same area all my life, and my brothers and sisters older than me showed things in 4-H, sheep and cows. But by the time I was a little bit older, we had built a house on the farmland, and we got rid of the animals and stuff. But I do remember all of it. So you need to do, instead of sugar, I'm doing date paste. And I get this date paste at Meijer's, and it's like $1.59. And here's what it looks like.
For a pound.
Yeah. 13 ounces, actually. It's not quite a pound.
Mm-hmm.
But I use this as one of my bases for my sugar. And it's kind of hard to get out of the package. So I'm going to show you how to get it out of the package. I've learned, because you just can't just take it out. It's too sticky. So I just cut along here with a pair of scissors. And then I open it up a little bit, and I cut down this way. And I cut down this way. Cut here and here. And then you cut right here. And of course you're going to have to wash these scissors, but I have several pairs of scissors. And so you open it up. And you can get it out way easier. Now, sometimes you can refrigerate it, but when you're baking, I would not refrigerate it. It's going to be too hard. So you can get it out. And it's still sticky, but at least you can get out the whole thing. And I just kind of take chunks of it and put it in here with the butter. And we're going to cream this. Have to wipe my hands off. Okay, and we need 1/4 cup of molasses. This is the only thing in this recipe that's kind of sugary, but we usually don't do sugar, but for this I'm going to concede and eat a little tiny bit of sugar. But a secret to this is I put an olive oil in this before I got this ready, because this stuff is really sticky, but if you put oil in there first, you can just pour it in there and it comes right out. It's still messy, but it works really good. Still sticky, still messy. That looks like about 1/4 cup. And as you can see, came almost all the way out. So I'll just help it out a little bit. Not as messy. There you go. So we're going to go over to the mixer I have over here. And I've got it unplugged. This is a habit I always do, and I hold on to the switch because this is a dangerous mixer if you're not careful. Put the beater in, paddle mixer, put it up, and then I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to mix it up. There you go. That's how quick that happens. Unplug it again. Okay, we need to add some eggs to this. We're going to add 6 eggs. And this thing right here was a thrift store find for 50 cents. And it was really just one of those coffee cup holder Keurig things or whatever. And it was standing up. So I had our carpenter cut the ends and nail it this way so I could have a little egg holder. So I'm just gonna put them right in. 6 eggs. And I like to crack them on each other because it works pretty good. Some people like to do this, and this I don't like to do this because it gets eggshell in it, but I crack them against each other and do it that way. Sometimes I'll crack them in a bowl separately to make sure I'm not getting any shell or anything in there. So this is 5 and 6. So we're going to go back over here. And sometimes you want to scrape down the sides. I scrape off my spatula on the mixer paddle so it works better. Like I said, this thing needs fixed. It's on fast speed all the time. That's a son-in-law job. I'll mix this up. So we're just going to leave that in there. And we need to add 1 1/4 cup of flour. And I use bread flour for this recipe. And 1 tablespoon of allspice ground up. These jars, I'm collecting these for all of my spices and whatever else I need. And I love these. I find these at thrift stores. Love these old aluminum measuring spoons. So just kind of put it in there and shake it till it's level. I'm putting it in there. And I just take a whisk and whisk this up. And we're going to dump that in and mix it up. And that's going to be the batter. I'm going to go ahead and put it in. There's not a lot of flour, so you can go ahead and put it in straight in. You got to be careful on this one. I need my guards. Because the flour sometimes comes out. I use these guards, and I'll just hold it. It does it anyways. You still get flour all over no matter what when you're baking. Okay, you look at that dough. Look at that. So we're going to take it out. Take it back over here. Clean this off. You can use your hands to do this, but I don't like to. This sink was the original sink that was here at the farmhouse, and we moved it over here because, one, there was no room for a dishwasher in the other kitchen as a design for the other kitchen, and I have to put our washer and dryer right behind where we're filming is our washer and dryer and dishwasher all along a line, and then there's a countertop back there that I can work on. Then we decided to put the sink in here. So the one cabinet is the little metal cabinet that was with it. So we did get to save at least that. And then I had my carpenter make it look like there were drawers on it. So that's really a cupboard door with a drawer. And then I made it look like that. And then we had to have a curtain on it. So it's really a drawer and a cupboard. So and there's all my hammers and nails and all that stuff. We got all our fruit and all our mixture. And we're just going to fold it all in together. I'm going to do half of it and then do another half. Just kind of stir it and fold it. Now last year I used a springform pan. I think it was 9-inch. And this year I want to do 3 6-inch pans. And I usually have parchment, but it's at the other farmhouse. So I just lined it with non-stick foil, which I love that stuff when you're baking. It works really well. So we're getting this all mixed together. Smells like fruitcake. So I want to divide this between 3 of them. So in the beginning, I'll just put some gloves in there to make it. If I had my scale here, I'd probably weigh it for each one. We're going to flatten it out. You want to push down, get all the air holes out of it. So there's one. This one might not have as much. Now for the 9-inch pan, it says to cook it at 275 degrees for 3.5 hours. But this one is going to be probably 2 hours. That low temperature just goes low and slow, and it keeps it from burning. So when it comes out of the oven, I've already boiled all the other stuff down and condensed it with the orange juice, some apricots, and pecans, and some of the figs cut in half. And we're going to put that in the apricot jelly, and we'll put that on the top after it comes out. And we'll come back and we'll see what it looks like when it's done. Okay, we're back. They're out of the oven, and it took 2 hours. It was a good guess on the time. So we're going to put 2 on a plate and 1 here, and Drew and I are going to taste it. It's a little warm, but I can't stand the anxiety of not, I want to eat it today. So I cut around these earlier. They should pop right out, which they do, and the foil stayed right in there. But because I want the other side, I'm going to twist it. See, they don't look that great with just no decoration on top. So the glaze is what makes them look really great. There's that one. Turn it upside down. Put it on a plate. And I cut a grocery bag. It only took one, and I'm going to put it all the way around. Hopefully it'll fit all the way around double. Yes. Actually, I probably just need to fold that because that's too tall. Fold that. Because you need a little collar around it. Okay. And I'm going to cut some string. This string holder was at one of the investment houses. Again, more free stuff. Cut the string, wrap it around there, tie it up. Barely fits, but it does fit. Okay. And here's the mixture cooked down. Because the pecans weren't whole, I'm not going to do it real decorative this year, but I'm just going to put it on top. Spread it around a little bit. Gotta make sure I save enough for the other ones, so just gonna spread it around. There you go. Push it down. So there's one. I'll do another one. My string.
So don't get this confused with meatloaf wrapped with bacon, because it almost looks the same.
Meatloaf.
Am I just wishing for meatloaf and bacon?
Yep. Who wouldn't want meatloaf and bacon? Every time we make meatloaf, we eat it for every meal.
Until it's gone.
Yeah, until it's gone. We never have any left. Okay. More glaze. And by the way, this is extra cherry countertop that we had, and so any extra countertop that we have, I always make cutting boards or whatever out of. I still have to oil it. You can get mineral oil at Meijer's in the drug section. It's just regular mineral oil, and you just sand it down and wipe it on.
Probably another good source for that would be GFS. They have it.
Okay, so do that. Do it like this. We'll see how messy this gets, because I'm not going to put the brown paper on this one. This is for us. Carefully. I can just see it falling. A little bit more. I got some more left, so I'll put it on this. And this one. Okay, we're gonna eat some. One of my recent thrift store finds is a partridge in a pear tree plates, fitting for the season, since this is December 23rd. So I'm going to try to cut it without making a big mess. What size piece do you want, Drew?
Small as possible.
Small as possible? You're no fun.
Well, we just ate.
Okay. He wants a little piece. Do you want a bigger piece than that?
No, that's it.
Do you want a little piece of fig on it?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Here's your piece of cake, Drew.
Rations.
Not me. I've been waiting forever for this.
You mean like 2 days?
No.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
know that every Christmas I'm going to make this. I'm getting a bigger piece. Spread this around. Okay. There it is right there, real close up of it. So I'm going to taste it. Stand it up. Let's see how it tastes. Yummy.
Good.
Really good. So there was a few things this year that they didn't have. Last year I got fruit sweetened cranberries with apple juice. This year I had to use just regular dried cranberries because they didn't have any at Whole Foods. So again, a little tiny bit of sugar in that. Very minimal, but really good. Next time. See you next time.